Hello everybody, my name is Bill and this is the channel Rust to Resurrection. Today we're back on the CJ5, we're back on the Dauntless V6. We've got just a little bit left to tear down on this thing, and that's going to be today's episode, or this episode. So we've got the manual and we're ready to go through the final process. The first thing it wants me to do is to remove the oil pan and the oil pump intake pipe and screen. We'll get that done. That should be pretty easy. And then the big part of this is going to be the next step. And they want me to remove the piston connecting rod assemblies. And then from there we get down and we remove the crankshaft. So today we're going to try to get this thing completely torn down so that all that's left is the block. Come on along. So we've already started a baggie for the bolts for the oil pan, so that's ready to go. Those of you who are following the channel, and I really appreciate you being here, I've been doing a series of polls or questions on the home page on my channel, and I've been asking some questions so that I can try to understand what it is you're most interested in and what kind of videos you'd like to see moving forward. So if you get a chance, head on over to the channel, the main page, go to a section that says post, and consider taking the polls, helping me understand what tomorrow looks like for Rust to Resurrection. I had one commenter suggest that I might be better to do reloading as opposed to this, and I think what he was saying is that my lack of experience here shows, and I'm okay with that, because from the very beginning I've been very clear that on this channel this is all about me, and in some cases my wife, learning to do new things. So if you're a experienced mechanic or engine builder, please offer your suggestions when you see it. I've learned a lot. Learned a lot from my little networking group that is full of very talented mechanics and machinists. Despite my best effort to clean this thing before I put it in the basement, it is still really oily and grubby. So if you guys that do this on a regular basis, what is etiquette? Do you bring this thing to the machine shop, spick and span, or do you let them run it through the cleaning tanks and let them clean it? Leave a comment. Tell me what is the proper etiquette for this kind of stuff. Oil pan bolts. Actually remarkably clean. It does have some sludge. So it wants me to pull the intake, the oil intake and screen off next, so we'll do that. And those are tiny bolts. Yes indeed, those are 7/16. Now I need to get this splash pan. What's this thing called, guys? It doesn't say in the book. Windage tray, is that what it's called? I know know, somebody smarter than me is going to have the answer to that. So it has these nuts that have these serrations. Do you need a special wrench for that, or can you use a regular socket for that? Alright, so that's a problem. I don't have anything that will mate that or match that. So tell me guys, where do I get sockets for taking those cap nuts off? Alright, so it looks like those aren't coming out today. I'm going to have to go source some sockets that fit that star pattern or whatever that pattern's called. Leave a comment. Tell me what it is that those things are called, and we'll go from there. One thing I can do is pull out whatever ridge is around the top of these cylinders. They're not bad, but there is a small ridge. In preparation for doing that, I borrowed this cylinder ridge reamer from a mechanic friend of mine. Wayne has been a lot of help helping me get through this, answering some of the questions that I had locally. And he had one of these, and he's allowing me to use it. And I'm going to tell you frankly, I don't know how. So it's got to expand, but I don't know how to let it expand. Gotta figure that out. Just like that. All right. Okay. I get it. It's got this rubber band that returns the reamer to a usable size. Now, like I said, never having done this before, so there is a series of rollers that keep it aligned to the cylinder wall, which is completely useful. Well, isn't that interesting? Interesting. Okay. And then I need a big wrench. Cool. Cool. 5 more to do. I'm not going to make you suffer through all 5, but I will bring you back when I'm down to the last one. Because this is the front of the engine, and this is the left bank or the driver's side bank, the cylinder numbers are 1, 3, and 5. So we're going to start marking the top of these with this white China marker, 1, 3, and 5, and then we'll do the same on the other side. So let's start out by cleaning the tops of these pistons off. I did oil them yesterday, so let's clean them first. Then we will label this one number 1. And then on the passenger side, we're going to number them 2, 4, and 6. So as I mentioned earlier, the instruction manual wants you to use the firing order as the reference for each cylinder and each piston. So I've done that. You saw that I marked the tops of the pistons. Well, I've also marked the location of the firing order or the cylinders on the side of the block, because now I have to go back in and label all of the piston rod caps so that everything stays together. And if you go around the other side, I've also labeled the other side with 2, 4, 6. So that way I don't have to keep flipping the block upside down to see which piston I'm labeling. I have to label each of these matched parts so that when they go back together, they go back together as a unit. So this is piston 1. So I've labeled the 2 of these with a single dot. So how I did that is I went down to my machine shop, and I have a hardened steel pin or rod, and I ground a sharp point on it, and then I just used the point and a ball peen hammer to mark it. Now I have to go back and label each one of these caps, these rod caps and rods with the same method. So there is number 1, and this one on the other side is number 2. So we're going to mark this boss surface here with 2 dots on the top and 2 dots on the bottom. So now I have 2 and 2, so that when I take this apart, I can put them back on the bench until we're ready for them and know that they'll be matched up to the number 2 cylinder when we're done. So I don't know if this is right or if it's wrong, but this is how I've seen other videos, how they've done it. So if you have thoughts about it, opinions, go ahead, leave it in the comment. Now I need to roll the next set of pistons up. So I have the same access to them. So now I have cylinders 3 and cylinders 4. I am pretty convinced that when I get to cylinder 6, it's going to be pretty busy with lots of dots. So there's 1, 2, 3. There's cylinder number 3. 4 dots. 4 dots. All right, so let's go ahead and mark the last 2. Cylinder number 5. Just like you're marking dice. Actually, that looks pretty good. And then the last one will be cylinder number 6. That one didn't come out so good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mentioned earlier in the video that I didn't have a 12 point, so I had to go and buy a 12 point. I didn't buy a set, I just bought one to do this. And I already pre-loosened that one. This one I have not. Oh. There's one. There's two. So remember, boys, when I say I've never done this before. So if you see something, say something, but again, always be polite. And these things, they don't look worn at all. It's almost a shame to tear this thing apart. Oh, shoot. Little CRC contact cleaner. It wants me to wrap these studs. I don't have anything. I didn't think to pick something up because it doesn't want me wrapping the threads against the journal here. So what I did do, I'm going to try it. I actually brought down some electrical tape and I'm going to try that. And I can already see the gloves are going to be a pain in the butt for this. So I think we're going to wash our hands. I don't know how well this is going to work, but it's better than nothing, I guess. I don't know, we'll see. Actually, it really doesn't even want to stick. It doesn't even really want to stick. Okay, so we are past the journal. We have this stick. It's a soft pine stick. I don't know what's going to happen. As I keep repeating myself, I've never done this before. That's working. So hopefully I removed enough of the ridge to get those piston rings out without breaking them. There's the first ring is out. There's the second ring. Keep trying this some more. Here we go. Here we go. Really is pretty crusty, but we got her out. All right. So let's put the cap back on and line those up. So double dots. No, single dot. Single dot. Put the cap on. Put the nut on. So we don't lose it. All right. Now, I mentioned earlier that I had labeled each of the positions. So we're going to put piston 1 with the location of piston 1. Let's take out the rest of these, and I will probably just let the camera run and we'll do a kind of time lapse on this. All right, we have the pistons all pulled out of the engine. And number one is the worst. The rings are all literally stuck inside the grooves. All the rest of them are floating pretty nicely. And when we look at the compression for cylinder number one, it was the lowest. Number 6 was low as well, but number 6 looks pretty good here. But number one, the rings are just literally compressed inside the ring lands or the ring grooves, and we had 105. I'm actually amazed that we have 105 psi when we did the compression test, because when we added oil it came up, which makes sense. But it makes sense. We understand now why it's 105 and those rings are all compressed. That leaves just the crank, getting the crank pulled out. And this one I don't have to do a lot of labeling because Buick or Kaiser already did. So the journal caps are all numbered. So the front one is numbered as number 1, and you can see the arrow indicating which direction it has to go back on. So number 2, same thing, you can see the arrow. Number 3 is right there, and the arrow is going forward. This one is not labeled, but I guess the assumption is that if you know where the rest of them go, you know where this one goes. I can see it only goes on one way. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is pull these caps off. And my buddy Steve Holtz tells me I'm going to need a really big breaker bar to get this off. So let's see if we can get these caps off. Oh, he didn't lie about that. He didn't lie about that. Thanks for the warning, Stephen. The disassembly instructions actually say to use a pry bar. And I think I'm going to do it this way if I can to start with, for sure. And even those bearings look good. Steven, you didn't tell me if I could ugga-dugga this one. Like the instructions say, and pry it. Everything I've ever read or watched has always said that you should store the crank on the end and not flat down, so I'm going to do that. If you guys have other opinions, leave a comment. I'd be interested in knowing how this is supposed to be done. So let's get this thing out. It is free. Let's see if we can do this without dropping it or damaging anything. And it is a brute. Holy moly. It's all apart, guys. Every bit of it is right down to the block. There's nothing left for it. Nothing left to do. So what we're going to do in the next video is I'm going to clean this thing up and get most of the junk and dirt off from it that I can. And then after that, I want to do a couple things. I want to measure the bores and check them against what the standards say they're supposed to be. I want to kind of check that and see if there's any significant wear in it. I would be surprised if there is, because considering how good all the bearings and everything are in this thing, I don't think there's a lot of wear. So we're gonna check that out and figure out whether we're gonna have to do any work on the cylinder walls or not. I don't think so, but anyway, so that's the next thing we're going to do. I'm going to clean it up, I'm going to measure those bores, and I'm going to record that. Then I'm going to try and find somebody that would be willing to clean this thing or put it in a bath and inspect it and get it tested for cracks. My gut right now is there are no cracks in this thing. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. Also, I've been promising you a video on the serial numbers on this thing, so I think I'm going to include that in the next video as well. Following that, this thing's got to get inspected, it's got to get cleaned. We got to go in eventually and I guess clean all the oil galleries. Again, guys, I'm new at this stuff, so I'm learning as I go. I got a lot of good friends that have been kind of helping and coaching me along the way. So that said, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed the channel, please consider subscribing to it as well. Guys, I love you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.